This version of SARS you definitely can't cure.
All right, we about to open up the meeting. Islam Muslims.
All right, Islam Muslims. Peace and love, everybody. We're about to go ahead and open up. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you are able to, everyone please rise and face the east for the Moorish American prayer. Right, we're going to rise and face the east. Going to have your feet together, your heels together. So your feet are going to be like a V, like you're standing on a square. Okay, and you're going to hold your arms up, 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left, and repeat after me. Allah.
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 The Father of the universe.
Father
of the universe.
The Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
God is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night and by day.
By night and by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Through Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam. All right. Thank you, Morris, for coming today. Want to announce that the meeting is now open. First and foremost, we always rise. We give the highest praise to the Most High, Creator of the universe, our Father God, Allah. We give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality. We give honors also to the forerunner to our prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We give honors to all the Adab Sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by our prophet, and that was Brother E. Millie Ill. Honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother K. Dandridge. Honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to all faithful on this call. Islam, Islamism. All right, we're going to read the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Okay, if you don't have one, you can just look at the screen. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh, is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in the flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended to his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No members to put in danger or falsely accuse his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and a partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality with us, with the Moorish Science Temple of America. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and a partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the father of the universe, the father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali. Home office, Chicago, Illinois, U.S.A. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Now, before we continue, I just wanted to say for anyone who's new, we do this every time we read our laws. We go over our Quran because these are the laws that were set forth by our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. He established an Islamic nation state for us. We have to learn our civics. We have to understand and know how our society runs inside and out. We will open the floor up to questions though, but we're going to go ahead and continue on. Brother Cole Bay, would you please read the writs of the prophet?
Islam. Arise and give honors to great God Allah. Rise and give honors to our prophet Noble Drew Ali. Rise and give honors to the forerunner Marcus Messiah Garvey. Rise and give honors to all Muslims on the call, all Muslims on the planet, to be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finances so badly as I do at present, so I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. There's a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instructions from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful to your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Drew Ali, and that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
All right, Islamism. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All right. Let's see, brother Seymour Bay. Would you please read the additional laws?
Islam.
Islam.
First, I rise and give praise to the Most High Father God Allah, and give honors to his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and to the forerunner to the prophet, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Peace and love to all the Moors on the call. Questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of credit of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group or members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restrictions, etc., by the prophet or the grand sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their added meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If a member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has the money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift a nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able to finance, to aid me in saving the nation. If he does not, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radically against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday school come the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must now proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the governments in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwest shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey fathers and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism. All right, thank you, brother. Before we get started on the Quran questionnaire, I want to share some information with you. For those who want to read along, I'm in chapter 41, verse 13 in the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's on page 51. So in chapter 41, verse 13, it says, "How should his actions be right, who hath no rule of his life? Nothing can be just which proceedeth not from reason." I'll just repeat that. How should his actions be right, who hath no rule of his life? So how can your actions be right? How can someone's actions be right if they don't even rule over themselves? Okay. Also, you know what? Speaking on that, the picture that was just up here, right, where you saw the Pharaoh, and it's talking about subduing the lower self. Okay, in the Holy Quran, as we know, the beginning of it is pretty much teaching us how to connect to our higher self, how to rule from the higher self. Why? Because it lets you know that Allah is within you. Spirit man is Allah in man. And it's teaching you to connect to your higher self, because ultimately Allah is setting us up to rule over all the nations. And in that verse, how can your actions be right if you don't even rule over your own life? If you're not even ruling over yourself, if your lower self, your animal nature, carnal nature is ruling things and running things, right? Nothing that proceeds from us will be just. We will just be repeating exactly what the Europeans are doing. All the things that we don't appreciate, all of the corruption and all of this, we'll just be keeping that going, right? And so that's why we have laws. When our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, founded this national movement, this national and divine movement, he put laws in place for all members to follow. Okay. And it's extremely important, especially now, because there's a lot of this information, which was like no one, only a handful of people knew about this in the past. But I say in the past 15 years, it started to blow up. So this information is in the streets and it's all over the internet, and you'll hear all types of things, right? But they're not giving you the laws and the structure. And they're not even paying homage to the person who created not just the laws and the structure, but the society for us, where the actual salvation is, right? And so as I was just saying, in that verse, you know, you can't rule. Nothing that we do will be just or right. Nothing that we do really will be prosperous either, if we're doing it from the state that we're in right now. So the prophet gave us laws. He put the laws in place for us to follow. And this is what we do also, you know, on Fridays and Sundays, we go over our laws, because we all have to understand it inside and out. What are the laws? First off, they're in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, which for the most part is a pamphlet. It's only has about 60 pages in it, right? And it's something that you could read over several times. So it's not like thousands of pages and really difficult to grasp, but also the information, the knowledge and wisdom in there is deep. But our laws are in there. Our history is in there, right? So we have the Holy Quran, then what was read earlier, the divine constitution and bylaws, then also what was read after that, the additional laws, and then some of the other proclamations and things that our prophet put out and established. Why are these laws? Because we have someone who came from amongst us, our people, who had divine insight. He recognized what was really going on, something that none of our people knew, right? None of our people knew what was really keeping us down, or how we were unable to be successful. Nobody realized that we were under a spell, and that we literally had been boxed into a category that keeps us at the bottom of the caste system here, right? And even to this day, even though the prophet came, he solved that problem. We still are dealing with it, right? Our people still screaming Black Lives Matters, even though black is just the English word for Negro. Negro is something that was created to box our people into a subhuman status. The Negro is the troglodyte nigger. The troglodyte nigger is the missing link. The troglodyte nigger is basically an ape man. Okay, and the troglodyte, they'll tell you this is the caveman. Okay, and so they actually boxed us into that category without us even knowing it. Right. So with us going along with that, still to this day, whether you call yourself nigger or black or whatever, African American, it all still means the same thing, and that's why we don't really have any rights or any of that stuff. And it's also why, you know, this information appeals to people now that it's getting out there. But we can't just run with what we're seeing. We have to pull it together and actually work what we have. We have a nation. The prophet set up a religious corporation. He set it up under Heard's revised statute in Illinois, which allowed for the creation of a religious society / body politic, which is why this is up on the screen. Okay, and we all need to understand this inside and out, each and every one of us. Okay, and so what Heard's revised statute did, it just had this was a system. It's actually a book full of laws. It's thousands of pages. It's extremely deep. But what it has within there's a way for people who wish to announce themselves as a religious society, for them to come in and set up their corporation and do it, and then they can move in that fashion. And so this is what the prophet did. And it could have just been a church, but it wasn't. Why? Because it had a greater task. We are helping our people come in and come back into the family of nations, and also to move as a unit. And when he started to do these things, he activated the body politic portion of the Moorish Science Temple of America. He actually went to the Pan American Conference in Cuba and represented us as a head of state. We actually had our own economy. Like within a short amount of years, the Moors had several businesses. One of the members or supporters had his own bank, Jesse Binga. And this was back in the days where, you know, in the 20s, when our people were going through Jim Crowism and they were moving as a unit. He was recognized as a head of state. The Secretary of State, the governor, all of these people sent him well wishes on his birthday. He like literally, he was moving as a head of state. And so he activated the body politic portion of this religious society. It's an Islamic nation state. If you see the screen, the definition on here from Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 16th edition, it says a body politic is a government corporation. When applied to the government, this phrase signifies the state. As to the persons who compose the body politic, they collectively take the name of people or a nation. Individually, they're citizens when considered in relation to their political rights, and subjects is being submitted to the laws of the state. Okay, and so this is something that's applied to a public corporation invested with the powers and duties of government. And it's used loosely just to refer to a state or a nation or a sovereign power. Okay, but this is what the prophet set up for us. So that's why you have to come within the society. And then, as I was saying earlier, the verse that I was reading from chapter 41, right, which is page 51 in your Quran, verse 13 is saying, how should his actions be right who hath no rule of his life? Nothing can be just which proceedeth not from reason. Okay, and that is saying, like, in our current state as so-called Negroes, or with this mind state that a lot of us have, and we have like self-destructive habits and things that, you know, are not serving to our best interests. We can't be successful like that, right? So the prophet created laws. He founded laws in place for all of us to follow. And the first type of law that the prophet put in place is called a rule. Okay, as the founder of the movement, Noble Drew Ali put in place rules that must be observed by all members. And then the second type of law that he put in place is called a regulation. So our prophet exercised his authority and put in place regulations, and these regulations deal with the details and the procedures of the everyday operation of the movement. And then the third type of law the prophet put in place is called a principle. And the principles, like the principle is a comprehensive, fundamental type of law that controls our conduct. Okay, so we've been going over those on Friday, right? We have the five principles, right? We're not really going to talk about that right now, but we have these laws that help us on an individual level and then as a collective, because it's like what are the laws for African Americans, you know, or for anybody else, like whatever group, because you have other people out here, Moors, that like, come on, what are the laws? I mean, you have some people who call themselves Moors who are out here like they getting they're doing all types of stuff. I'm not even really gonna go into it, but they literally like committing crimes. They're doing all types of stuff, and it's like, bro, you can't do that. But let's get back to this. So this is why it's important to understand what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali actually set up and established for us, because then you understand how it works, how it's successful, and from a practical level, then it makes sense to you. All right. And that's why we have to proclaim and practice our 5 great principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And then we adhere to those 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you know, each day of the month, every day of the year. You know, and it's okay if it's a work in progress for you, but you're working towards something. Like we have principles that we're not just down for whatever. Like literally, like we're under attack. A lot of us don't even realize there's a savage program that is being pushed on our people. Right? We're singing along to the music. The song called Savage. We're singing along with it. And we don't even realize, you know, because it's catchy. It sounds good. That one song, Rihanna singing You Needed Me or something, and she's like, you didn't know I was a savage. We singing along with it. We think it's cool. Oh, it's cool. I ain't got no love. I'm savage. I'm cold out here. I'm cold-hearted, right? We think it's cool, and we're buying into it. So we're under attack. And the Prophet is doing what? The exact opposite. Okay? He's showing us, he's returning our ancient ways to us. And by ancient, I mean so far back, you're going back to ancient Egypt, where we're subduing the lower self, the savage part. So right now, we're entering into a new age. We're actually either already in the age of Aquarius or we're entering into it. And that's why we see all of these crazy things happening. And some people, for a lot of people, seems like it's just happening. They feel like it's the end times, right? Okay, because we're going into the new age. It's time out for that. The Prophet came right on time, because prophets come when we're coming into a new age to prepare us. So he let us know how to subdue our lower self, to rule from the higher self, to truly be God men, God women, right? And the program is what? Savage. To be savage. And we thinking it's cool. Okay? So the exact opposite of where we're supposed to be going. And there's no way we can be successful like that. And we can't pretend to be Moors and be savage. You have to at least be working towards being a better form of a version of yourself. Okay? And I understand if people don't know about it. But once you know about it, now you have to do better. Okay? And so that's why this portion can't be left out. This is where the actual salvation is, because we're going to save ourselves. Nobody else is going to come to do it. Right? Donald Trump's not going to do it. Biden definitely ain't going to do it. None of these people are going to save us. It's on us. And they're pushing savage. When you see that our ancestors, right, were working to bring out God in them, subdue the lower self. If you try to push savagery on them, they would have been like, oh, no, get away from me with that, right? But we've fallen so low that we can be tricked like that. Even when the time that we are in is time out for all that. If we stay on that savage level, the ones of us who are stuck there are going to have to get wiped out. All right, because that world is ending. All right. And also, as members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we understand we're not victims. We understand, we know that we allowed the Roman nations to take our nationality away from us. And then due to our own ignorance and of our nationality, right? That it took a divine prophet to give it back to us. All right. And he returned us to our ancestors' ways, because what our forefathers were, we are today without doubt or contradiction. And no one can change us from our descendant nature unless their powers extend beyond the creator. Okay. And so the prophet returned us to our ancestors. He said that the keys to civilization was in our ancestors' hands, which you can see an example up here on the screen. And he said it is currently in our hands as well, the hands of the Asiatic nations. And that's why, we talk about this a lot, but that's why still, even in our lowered state, we can influence the world. We can have everybody singing along with us, even if we're talking about something extremely ignorant. We can have everybody thinking it's cool. We can have everybody lowering their own standards, right? And following along with us, and then having the same problems that we have. All right. Really quickly, too, I wanted to read from page 59. We're in chapter 47 real quick, just verse 16 and 17. So if you're reading along, this is chapter 47. It's on page 59. All right. So on verse 16 and 17, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So once again, the prophet is sharing, this is why we suffered, is of our own doing. We fell, and that's why we went for whatever trick they were trying to pull on us. All right. And in order for us to truly be successful, we need to share a common origin, which we have, which the prophet reconnected us to, where it doesn't matter if you're from North America, the Caribbean, even South America. We're all connected through this. So we have a common origin, we have common traditions, common language. And we also have a common divine creed. And so then together, now we can form our own nation state. Now we have a nationality. And these are the ties that bind us. Right? So that's why, people have to come in and learn this. It's not going to work any other way. It can't be left out. And once again, too, we're not victims. Like I was saying earlier, in the beginning of the Quran, what does it do? It lets you know that Allah is within you, and then gives you the steps on and the tools on how to reconnect to your higher self. Why? Because no one can truly rule over us. Right? If Allah is in you and you descend from the creators of civilization, nobody can rule over you once you are truly back in line with your higher self. And that's why the ancients were more concerned with this part, the spiritual part of bringing out or connecting to their higher self more than anything, right? Mastering self. Okay, because once they do that, then they can build pyramids and do things that they still don't know how they did today. And that seems so unbelievable to us because we've fallen. We think that the Europeans' smartphone is superior to what our ancestors had. And we are who they were, right? So nothing's changed except for us. We have to get back to that. So the Roman nations can only act as gods and dominate us. And they can only do it if we allow it. But they can't do that when you return to your ancient and divine creed and nationality. And then especially moving as a nation, as a unit, right? Just in central Ohio, we will be unstoppable. Okay, and then the government, no one can come against us. They cannot openly hinder what we're doing because there's nothing wrong with us coming back into the family of nations. Okay, I don't even know how they would address trying to attack it, because they can't say, oh, we put them into that category of Negro and now they're trying to say that they're not Negro. They can't even do nothing about it. They really are supposed to assist us. I don't have confidence that they're going to do that, but they can't hinder us openly. It can only be done from within. So our prophet gave us something to use that's going to prevent another nation from dominating over us all over again. And that's called a free national standard. And a free national standard is something established by the use of authority for a nation that is not subject to influence, hindrance, control, or domination by another nation. All right, a free national standard is something established by the use of authority for a nation that is not subject to influence, hindrance, control, or domination by another nation. No one can influence or control what we're doing. It has to come from within. And that's also why we have public meetings and in private meetings. This isn't for everyone. Even some of our own people they're not serious about uplifting and being prosperous and having what we need as a collective. And so we can't trust them. You know, you're an enemy to success and you know, they wouldn't even be able to be a part of this. All right. And some of the free, just to end this before we go into the Quran questionnaire, some of the free national standards that our prophet gave us that we must use to maintain our nationhood. We can't let this go. All right. And this is something worth writing down. This is also something you're not going to learn from the internet. So people need to know this. All right. It's 7 of them. One is our Supreme Grand Council. And remember, that's like the judicial branch of our own government. Okay. And remember, the judicial, executive, and the legislative branches of government, the Europeans didn't make that up. They didn't have that in Europe. They might have it now in different countries, but they didn't have that. They came over here. And when they came over here, they saw the civilized tribes. They had the great law of peace, which the Constitution of the United States of America came out of. It came out of the great law of peace, which is something that our ancestors had. Okay. And remember, Chief Tammany of the Lene Lenape, he's the one that gave William Penn a nickname. You know, he adopted them in, and they showed them how we run, how we have, you know, representatives in government. This was all ours, and it's all based off of us. And that's why still to this day, we were in Philly just last month, and we saw the statue to Chief Tammany, and they had Tammany Hall there, because that was the first capital, and that was where all the European immigrants were coming in and learning civics, learning how to be Americans, in the place named after one of our ancestors. Okay, and the Lene Lenape was specifically, they were called Moors. William Penn, who Pennsylvania was named after, in his diary, he's talking about how they called the Indians, Moors, and Negroes interchangeably. Right? So this is all ours. All of it's based off of us. The prophet's returning us to it because we fell out. We fell. All right. We allowed this to happen. So the 7 free national standards the prophet returned. 1 is our Supreme Grand Council. 2 is our ADEP chamber. 3 is our Morris Sunday School. 4 is our public meetings. 5 is our Holy Quran. 6 is our Divine Constitution and bylaws. And 7 is our Holy Questionnaire. All right. And actually, you might be able to think of more, but that's it for now. And these are things that we all need to understand. And this is how it works, basically. We're going to go into the Quran questionnaire, and then we'll open the floor up to questions. Hang on a second. Okay, so yeah, here we go. Question 71. Can the higher self pass away? And then the answer is no. All right. So the higher self is the spirit of Allah. It's spirit man. Okay. It's Allah in you. So of course the higher self cannot pass away because time never was when it was not. And so like in the Quran, when it says time never was when man was not, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about the higher self, Allah in you. All right. So the thing that does pass away is the illusion. The higher self is the reality. The illusion is the lower self. In our Holy Quran, it also tells us that the lower self is just a reflection. Okay. And so it's finite. The higher self is infinite. And also is falsehood. The higher self is truth. It's reality. It's what's real. That's why too, I hope everybody got that technique that I was telling you to do to try, not telling you to do, but just letting you know you could try this to open your third eye. Right when you do this, waking up in the middle of the night, and I hope this doesn't sound too out there for everybody, but you tell your third eye to open at that point in time when you're in the middle of sleep and you're in the theta brainwave state, your third eye opens, you will be consciously connected to your higher self. And you will immediately know that that's what's real and all of this stuff is fake. Everything. And it's so incredible. That's the only way really that I could describe it. But if you haven't tried it, I would remind you, give it a try. Give it a try a couple times. The higher self though is everlasting. That's what excuse me. The lower self is just a reflection of it. It's earthbound, right? They used to have this saying, it was a fad, but everybody used to say YOLO, YOLO, you only live once. That's like the slogan of the lower self. You only live once. And then why were they trying to encourage us to say YOLO? Because it's like something you yell out before you do something stupid. Like you about to go bungee jumping or something. Like, you only live once. It's like, nah, your body might only live once, but you're not the body. So that's like the motto of the lower self. And nobody even says it anymore. It was a fad. But like right after that, they really started pushing all these songs coming out with people talking about how it's cool to be savage, beast mode. Right. So that's the program. That's what they're trying to get us in. And that's the exact opposite of where our ancestors were. That's the exact opposite of how we can be successful. And that's the opposite of what our holy and divine prophet brought to us. Right. So 72, question 72 is saying why? The higher self cannot pass away. So the answer is why. The question is why. And the answer is because it is Allah in man. The higher self is Allah in man. It's Allah individualized as you. Right? And that's something that you can know. You don't have to read it. You don't have to hear anybody talk about it. You are blessed, to be able to connect to that in reality. You can open your third eye. You can realize that Allah really is you, that you really are everywhere at once, connected to everything. Like in the Quran, when it tells you in our Quran that we are bound by invisible cords to everyone, you can feel that. You can know that's real. Okay? And you don't have to meditate for 20 years to do it. All right? So through Allah's mercy though, right? We're able to just focus on our life here so that you can do what you have to do here and not be thinking about all these other things at once. Like that's mercy that we're able to focus and this individual personality and everything, but you're connected to everything. Does that make sense? Okay. And then also, like, with this information being returned to us, is uplifting. You're not when you know this, you know, people can't sell the old heaven and hell and all that stuff to you. You know better than that, right? And you know that you're connected to the creator. No one can truly rule over you once you understand this. Um, Question 73. What does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms. Okay? And for the most part, you know, the lower self is just, it brings about all of the misery, all of the things in our life that aren't going our way, everything, even in our community as a greater, like as a whole, looking at our community, the problems that maybe that a lot of our people are facing, it's all caused through operating from the lower self. It's not to say that there's no one else that's trying to attack us or anything like that. It's just they wouldn't even be able to succeed with any of these things if we didn't go, if we weren't ruling from the lower self. We hear a lot of people complaining about like child support and things like that. And I know the system's messed up. I already know. But the system is set up to take advantage of you if you are making babies, maybe without even, you know, being married or being, you know, with if you're operating from the lower self. And a lot of things are set up like that. And the whole the war on drugs, all of these things are all set up to take advantage of us if we're operating from the lower self. Right. So if we don't have these guidelines, you know, this advice, this wisdom, these divine instructions, we're just out here to lose. We're just out here just to feed the system. Right. But that's not natural. That's not normal. That's another thing. The lower self is it's an illusion, right? It's falsehood. So that's not natural. That's not the way that we have to be. We can, like the picture that I had up with the Egyptian pharaoh. You once you recognize, once you know that, okay, there's a lower aspect of me, there's a lower nature or a lower self, whatever you want to call it, right? Once you know this, and once you realize how it operates, now you know what to look out for, right? So the lower self is cunning, it's um it's um it's influential, right? But once you know this, you can recognize the thoughts and you know where they're coming from. This is coming from the lower self. This is what does it say? The lower self, it breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. So if you're having thoughts and you recognize that, you already know not to go that direction. It's going to lead to destruction. Okay, and question 74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? And the answer is, where are you going, Satan? Okay, and so looking at this, we could look at this like from a spiritual perspective, or we could look at it. Sorry, hang on. We could look at that historically, and if we're looking at this historically, at this point in time, with what was being talked about previously with Jesus, this would have been referring to Rome. All right, because at that time, all right, Rome was going and conquering, and all of the nations or tribes, especially our people, like they were ruling over the area that's now Palestine. So they were subjugating these people, and they were going over and devouring these people. And so, like, from a historical perspective, you could say this is what it would be referring to: Imperial Rome, and anyone who accepted their teachings, because then you're going to be absorbed into their traditions and their practices. And they were doing all types of stuff in Rome. Rome destroyed itself from within, right? They would have celebrations where they'd have orgies, everybody's just eating, some people just eating themselves to death. And then they had some like just terrible, they had a lot of stuff going on. And so if you got into that culture, it's going to destroy you. And we're in the same situation today, right? with Western civilization. Okay, and so question 75, what was the answer that the lower self gave to the higher self? I'm going to and fro the earth, seeking whom I may devour. All right, and so looking at it like that from the same perspective, the lower self will be imperial Rome. That was the Satan that was going to and fro the earth, devouring. Okay, and once again, we're in the same situation today with Western civilization, going to and fro the earth, seeking whom they may devour. You know, they say that the United States always is at war with someone or always has like bases somewhere. And like a lot of times, especially in the past, like with Vietnam War and things like that, wherever troops were, you had rapes increasing. You had a whole bunch of local women that were being impregnated, you know, and they're stuck with these babies that are like half European and half whatever. It was horrible. And some even, it was our people participating in it too. Why? Because we joined the ranks and we became a part of the debauchery, the evil, the terror, right? So it's same type situation with ancient Rome, right? Because they didn't just colonize the people; they ruled over the hearts and minds of all these people. All right, and so it's the same way today. So it's 76 has he finished this task of devouring, and then the answer is yes. And so this is just letting you know this is talking about Rome, because well, in the Holy Quran, what does it say in chapter 19 verse 12? Jesus says of his crucifixion, the Roman soldiers pierced my hands and feet with nails, and then one pierced my heart. All right, so he's talking about this, and we're in the same situation now. Question 77 is, when was his time declared out? And the answer is when he nailed Jesus to the cross. All right, so this is, you know, once again letting you know he's talking about the Romans because they're the ones nailed him to the cross. Also in chapter 46, verse 1, it says the Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. All right, and then the teachings of Jesus, like at that time, were revolutionary. This is someone who had achieved the Christ title by having a conscious connection to the higher self, ruling from the higher self. And he's going around teaching people how to do this, which is going to change things for the ones who are ruling over them and oppressing them. So the people who are ruling, just like in this society, in Western civilization, in Rome, the leaders, they knew what Jesus was teaching. They understood the power in this self, because the message is all about self. It's basically self-help, right? And he's teaching them how to use their thoughts to create and to take control of their reality. So they saw him as a threat, which is why they ultimately crucified him. And it's the same situation we're in today. Like what I was saying earlier, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America is basically a pamphlet. It's only 60 pages. But when you look at it, it's not like most religious books, because it's, for the most part, it's like a self-help book. The beginning of it, more than half of it is like a self-help book. It lets you know God's in you, and then it gives you the steps to bring out the God self. Right, which is why I had that meme up to show you how to subdue the lower self and how to rule from there. And then it's giving us steps how to move as a collective, as a community, with these same principles. And then it's also giving us our ancient history, divine history, lets you know your ancestors been over here since before the continent split up and all that. But the beginning, and more than half of it is like a self-help book, right? So it's not like a normal religious text. And why is it like that? Because once again, he's giving us our true power. No one can rule over you if you are God personified. They can't. It's impossible. You would have to go along with it, and you wouldn't. So that's why that's the most important part. And it's also, it makes sense that people would overlook that and not really think nothing of it, because you're not seeing it in action. Everything's out of balance now. This isn't the world where people, able to move things with their minds and make pyramids and do all of these things, right? Everything's about computers and machines. Okay? So they don't even know how to do that stuff. All right, just like that, there was a story I've said a couple times, how there's this old Egyptian story where there was this Egyptian. He was basically like an alchemist, right? Or a magician, whatever you want to call. And he's on a boat with the pharaoh, and one of the princesses drops her bracelet in the Nile River, and he stands up and he says a few words, and it makes the waters of the Nile stand on top of each other like stairs, and they can see the bottom of the river, because it's just like it's animals and mud. And so they go and pick it up and give her a bracelet back, and then he says the words again, and the waters come back. And so the reason I'm saying is because like this was written down, and the Egyptologists, they'll say, oh, that was just allegory, it was just symbolic. With this story, like I've read it myself, these were in hieroglyphics, but I'm reading, it's all in detail. And that's not the only one. Like they literally, it was in the words and the way that he pronounced it, and it made it happen. So it wasn't just symbolic. Our ancestors were able to do this, and we can do it too, because we are who they were. And that's truly powerful. And that's why I was saying, like, just like how the Romans knew what Jesus was teaching was dangerous. It was dangerous from their perspective, because you're freeing these people's minds. You can only rule over them if their minds are under control. And so it's the same situation today. The rulers, let me show you an example. I'm not talking like, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not trying to disparage or speak radical about anyone, but we know, okay, that there are people who wear our headdress in secret, right? Who honor even our principles, okay? And these are the same type of people who fear us knowing who we are, because that's where the power truly is. Okay? Like, why would they be doing this? Why would they call the White House, where the president, where the seat of power, why would they call it the White House when they know that the capital of Morocco is White House, Casablanca, right? Why are they doing this? Okay? Because this is true. This is true. So they and I'm not trying to talk bad or anything. I'm just being real. Like, they don't want you to know your true power, right? Which is also why they actually were discussing us in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832, discussing the so-called Negro, Henry Berry. Why is a delegate, a lawmaker, talking and saying, we have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind? If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on the level of what? Level with the beast of the field, and we should be safe. Okay? Level with the beast of the field, and they're pushing the savage program. They're pushing savagery. They don't want us to know this. And they definitely don't want you to be patient and to study self and to be about ruling over your lower self, bringing out God in you. They don't want you to be about that. They don't want you to be this, right? To be your ancestors, the creators of civilization. The Pharaoh holds the twin opposites, the shepherd's staff, mercy, and the flail, severity, and balance. Both are used to subdue animals. They symbolize mastery over one's what? Lower animal nature. Mastery over your lower self. And all throughout ancient Egypt, this is what you see. When you see Osiris standing on top of the serpent, he's subduing the lower self. Anything, even when you see Jesus riding on the donkey, that shows mastery over lower self. So all of these symbols from our ancestors were telling us what to do. The prophet came and he didn't just tell us, he let us know, and then he gave us the steps to make it reality. And then he gave us the steps to do it as a unit, to rule our societies with these same principles. You cannot leave that out. You leave this out, you're going to have people claiming they Moors and they trying to rob you. They trying to sell drugs. They trying to kill each other. Same thing they're doing right now. Okay? So this is, you can't leave this out. This how come nothing's working. But I'm not saying that it can't work. We have to do it. We have to be patient. So if they're wearing our fez, but they can only wear it when they're having they can't wear it outside unless they're having like an official parade or an official get together or something, right? Why is it a secret? And why are they pretending to be us? Okay, so not knocking them, go on and do them, but we need to do us now. It's time. Okay, and so just as I was saying there in 77, when was his time declared out? When he nailed Jesus to the cross. So he's referring to Rome, and Rome feared Jesus getting this message out because he's bringing back God consciousness to the people. And they fear the same thing. This is what our prophet is doing for us. And so 78, what are the last words Jesus uttered? He said, "It is finished." Those foretold the end of Roman world domination. That was it. He prophesied the end of it. Okay? And Rome crumbled from within. They destroyed themselves. And the same thing is happening now. So even if the people were asleep and they're not going to get out and make it happen, it's happening anyway. Same thing's happening with Western civilization. Our people sleep. They're pushing the savage program, and a lot of our people are dancing along, dancing to their own demise. They're going along with it. And guess what? They're still coming down. Western civilization is through. It's on its last legs, right? And it's coming from within. Same as Rome. Question 79. What did he have reference to? He had reference to the end of Satan, right? So he prophesied the end of it. Okay? Said, it is finished. It's done. They can't hold down God and man forever. It's not going to work. It's over. And then the next question lets you know that he's coming back. Did Jesus say that he will return to conquer him? And the answer is yes. He knew he sowed the seeds for the end of Satan, because in Jesus' time, whether people think Jesus was real or not, doesn't even matter, because there's been several Christ figures throughout history. The thing is, at that time, somebody on earth, maybe his name was Yeshua or something, but somebody on earth was doing this because what was happening at that time? We're entering into the age of Pisces. So somebody had to be there to prepare the people for the new age. And that's what Jesus did, right? He sowed the seeds for the end of Satan. He let them know about God and man. He knew that he wouldn't live to see all of this happen, wouldn't live to see all of that, come down, but he knew that he'd be back. And the Christ-like, the energy, returned as the Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon him. And it also returned as the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who's here. He came before the age of Aquarius to prepare us. All right, so this is no joke. And this can't be skipped over or left behind. This is where the foundation is. This is where the salvation is. It's not in paperwork. It's not in let's all take up arms and still fight and still we still Negroes though. We still savage. Nah, everything has to change. All right. And then truly we have to recognize in God in us and truly become that. You have to step in and become that. All right. And so it doesn't matter what is being put in the skies. It doesn't matter if it's chemtrails, what's in the water. It doesn't matter. They can't stop it. All right. They're damaging themselves more than us. They're infighting. We see that right now. You can see it at the presidential level. They're infighting. They're tearing each other apart. They're literally at war. We shouldn't be out there campaigning or fighting, or we shouldn't care about any of it. Right? We have to take care of us. Go on and let Rome fall. Okay? Let it. Right? They want to assist us? Cool. Not, oh well. But we're not, getting caught up in their beefs and their fights. That's a part of them destroying themselves. They need to go on ahead and do what they have to do. Islam. So yeah, we're finished on the Quran questionnaire. I will open up the floor to questions. I know we have somebody new. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask. Nobody, like, no questions dumb. I mean, they didn't teach us any of this stuff. So, if you have anything to ask, feel free to ask. And if anybody else has anything they want to say, feel free to speak up. I yield the floor.
Islam. First and foremost, I rise and give praise to Allah, honors to His Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and honors to all you Moors in attendance today. I just wanted to say that was a beautiful demonstration. It was actually nourishing. It was clear cut and nourishing, and anyone could just jump in and listen to the words and follow along and have a real good understanding of what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was giving us in these keys. So honors to you, brother, and praise Allah for that. I just wanted to add that the Jesus story and why the Prophet helps us to understand the life and works and teachings of Jesus Christ is because Jesus is a really good example. He's our brother, and he's a good example of how to overcome what has been done to us, because Jesus he sacrificed himself, his lower self, to prove that through true focus on the Most High, your source that we're all connected to, through true focus on Allah and knowledge of self, of who you really are, your connection to the Most High, that you can overcome any and everything. And we are not the body, but we're the spirit. So no matter what they try to do to our physical bodies, they could never touch our spirit, because that is Allah, Islam.
Islam. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, if we do need to hang on. Let me see. I guess we did everything. So, yeah, if nobody else has any questions or anything else they want to say, we're gonna go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting.
Islam.
Islam.
Hi. So I'm basically, this is all new to me. Thank you for demonstrating tonight's meeting. Um, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to claim my nationality. So I'm trying to do the whole name change and everything. One of the sisters, she gave me her contact number, which I'll probably contact her tomorrow, for the most part. But thanks for inviting me. Islam.
All right, Islam. Yeah, thanks for joining. For joining us on the call. If you yeah, you sent your email, we'll send you some information, and also we'll send you the application to actually join the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm not, telling anybody to rush into it though. Like, study the information that we went over. Get your own, whether you join or not, get your own Quran and the Constitution and those things, so that you can look over it. And of course, you can study with us. But I advise everybody to do that. And then, like, here in Ohio, we move together as a unit. Like, we're building it basically from the ground up. because like our parents and grandparents didn't know about this stuff, so it wasn't handed down to us. So we're starting from square one. But you know, we're doing it because we don't want to pass down the legacy of, you know, slavery and failure to our children and grandchildren. So we're establishing the foundation now. Islam. All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to share or bad? All right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close out. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have to read the divine warning. Hang on. Let's see. Brother Davis L., do you have your divine warning in the Moorish literature?
Peace. I don't have that available right now.
All right. Do we have any volunteers, Brother Jones Bay, Brother Seymour Bay, to read the divine warning? Brother Jackson Bay. It's on page 17.
Peace. I have that with me.
Islam.
Sheikh, give me 1 moment, please.
All right, Islam. And once again, like I was saying earlier, we do this every time. These are our laws. We have to understand and know this inside and out. Nothing is like required of us is really hard or difficult. It's not like we're telling people they have to, you can't drive with a license and you have to argue with the police or anything crazy like that. It's nothing like that. You know, everything that we do is like practical and realistic. And it's supposed to make your life easier, actually, and more prosperous. This is supposed to help you instead of making your life harder.
Peace. All right. This is a long one, so bear with me on this one. First time reading through it out loud. The divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional law of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, and they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under a free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in City Hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness and into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that make the man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver, and commerce belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling upon all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all the support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I'm depending on your support to get them back into the constitutional fold again, and that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mind back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional law of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike, and all other governments. When a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name. Because they placed their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in Latin to the language to the word nigger. I'm sorry, let me read that again. The word Negro deludes in Latin language to the word nigger. The same word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, or dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy forefathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at the time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law was enforced since 1774, declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. And then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do hear and believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such class of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me remove this great sin, which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they have fought the Southerner for these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South, and I have examined the conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for the moral support and financial help me in a great way in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness and into marvelous light. From the Prophet, Islam.
All right, Islam. Thank you, brother. All right, I appreciate you. Appreciate everyone. We're going to go ahead and close out. If you're able to, please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. You do not need to repeat after me. You just put our heels together like in a V formation. Hold your arms up, 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name and the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love. We do this every Friday and Sunday. Same phone number or same link on Zoom. Peace and love.
Peace and love,
Peace.
more.
Peace and love,
Peace and
Muslims.
love.
Peace
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, Islam.